did you feel when you started getting the reaction, especially in New Mexico? Was that your first time?
That was the first time, yeah. I was really surprised, and I remember calling you, remember, and asking you for advice. And and you gave me good advice.
Then I don't remember what I said.
And we dialogue too.
Yeah. I remember reaching out to people because I was
freaked out.
I was like, I'm not quite
You wanted
sure.
us to write letters of support and all that, which I never did. It's so bad.
It's okay, you
But I
gave me good
support you
advice.
anyhow.
No, and there were. So I think I was able. I mean, I don't know how. Well, you contacted lawyers and stuff like that. I don't think I really. I think the reason that I really survived it well was because there was so much support, right? Because there were.
How? I guess what I want to know is, what did they threaten you with? And I mean, were you afraid for your physical body?
Yeah. And I never felt less safe. Than at that time, and then in Santa Fe, right? Because I could literally feel like if somebody could,
Their hatred.
they would have slapped me and they would have hurt me.
Right.
You know, I mean, fortunately nobody did, but I just totally, I thought, you know what, I'm an arm's length away from this, right? And it's not like it's made up or I'm paranoid. I mean,
No.
It's real.
I've had that
you know?
feeling too, but it wasn't regarding the artwork.
Yeah.
It was at San Francisco State strike.
Yeah. So, you know,
Those people that would do that, they would place themselves higher than you for even that act. They're like defending the church, you know, so they would feel better. They're morally superior by doing something that publicly, so it could be acknowledged.
Artist Alma Lopez says she's surprised at all the fuss over this thing. The picture's in a museum, not a church, but it is a state-owned museum, and plenty of taxpayers say it's an insult to their religion.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
We have an exhibition called Cyber Arte, which features the artworks of 4 Hispanic female artists in the Museum of International Folk Arts. And one of the images, which shows the Virgin of Guadalupe draped in roses, has caused the kind of protest that you see behind me.
I'm here because I believe it's wrong for a public institution to desecrate the symbols of religions. And in Santa Fe, which is a very tolerant town and very much a Catholic town, I think it's wrong for the museum to offend its constituents in this manner.
The view of the museum is that it is indeed very respectful. The artist who made this is an Hispanic. She is a Catholic, and she meant it as a respectful view of the Virgin that shows that brings out the aspect of a strong woman, the aspect of the femininity of the Virgin.
To them, it might be considered art. The majority of the people here in the city of Holy Faith, it's not considered art. It's offensive. We look at her, and we're looking at our own mother, and we would not like to have our mother depicted in a bikini.
Many members of the Catholic community call the picture disrespectful, and they're demanding it be removed.
I don't want to live in a totalitarian society where someone dictates what we see and don't see.
The religious and art world, both with deep roots in Santa Fe, are now colliding here.
But it's very interesting how powerful the image is to people and how they have a vested emotional stake in it, and how it's still, even though all of us have taken it fairly far from its origin, like with Esther's, karate woman, it's still there.
Yes.
It's still, the elements are still there, and it still reads to people as a sacred image,
For those viewers who are offended by the Alma Lopez print, Our Lady, I must warn you that the print is shown in detail in the following segment.
The controversy over this non-traditional representation of the Catholic icon has eclipsed the rest of the exhibit, with Catholics demanding the Museum's Board of Regents remove the print, and free speech proponents insisting freedom of expression is the overriding concern.
I certainly never anticipated the extent of the controversy, nor the strength of the controversy.
People are threatening unsafe activities outside, and that it's become a dangerous situation, which is something that we cannot allow.
People are being held and not being allowed to come any further than the outside walkway. Why is that?
Several hundred people, mostly against the artwork, tried to jam into the Museum of International Folk Art for a meeting of the museum regents. Security guards kept most of the crowd outside.
Folks, remember the ground rules. We're not being loud and raucous. You can do this. That's a very safe way to show your support. And considering what's going on outside, if it gets out of hand in here, we're absolutely going to stop the meeting.
I'd like to make a point on the process. It looks to me like this meeting may be coming to an end. I've heard the word respect about 500 times since I've walked into this room. And if the museum really believes in that, and you're the facilitator, and I think that you do, respect demands that the painting be taken down until there's a meeting, and then you make your decision. But don't keep it up and talk about respect. Take it down, have your meeting in a week or 2 weeks, then you make your decision. But don't keep it up and keep using that word respect. That's not right.
There are a lot of point of views about this issue, obviously, and that's why all kinds of different people are here. That's why it's so important for people to have all the points of view.
I think we can look at all these people here. They're in a great deal of pain. It's very disrespectful.
Alma Lopez was taken away by security as soon as the meeting ended because museum officials feared for her safety.
The museum officials couldn't handle the emotional crowd, and the meeting was canceled. John Arnold joins us now from our Santa Fe newsroom with more. John?
Well, Tim, an auditorium intended for 250 people quickly filled up as museum officials attempted to set the stage for a civil debate. That debate never happened.
Cancel the meeting!
Hundreds of angry protesters who could not get into the packed meeting hall demanded that the hearing be rescheduled.
Cancel the meeting until you can further accommodate the mass number of people.
Finally, the museum's Board of Regents conceded
that we will cancel the meeting today.
The meeting has been rescheduled for Monday morning at 10 a.m. here in Santa Fe at the Sweeney Center.
Tell me in here. Speak to here. Can you tell?
So we can take down the picture of the lady.
Good morning. Great.
Monday, April 16th, proponents and opponents alike gathered at the Sweeney Convention Center to air their views before the Board of Regents. In the crowd of about 600, Catholic opponents far outnumbered those in favor of allowing the art to remain hanging.
Well, I think that's what's going to be important about this dialogue that we're having and how it's going to be disseminated, is because we really haven't had a chance to explain it. And people read it in our work in different ways, and they take it negatively, where I know we have not approached it in that way. It's with complete respect.
But how, you're right. People do take it, some people take it very negatively. But it's, I don't know how much explaining we can do, oh, I really intended this, You can't, because your intention is here, no matter what.
People are going to read it.
Then they will read it. You can't say, well, I didn't mean all that, or because it is what it is, Esther. I mean, it is, I think people like Los Guadalupe understand. I think Guadalupanos understand the threat here. They understand it. They may not be able to articulate it, but they understand it. I think they understand, bottom line, it's questioning the church and the roles of men and women. But they understand it, and they usually don't argue with you on that. They're called to defend it, but they won't say, I'm very uncomfortable with this because, you're fiddling around with what women should be or not be. What's my wife going to think about, It's something in there.
But
they know.
I think part of it, though, with this, right? When you look at this image, right? My niece, she was 7 years old at the time, and her mom was going to UC Berkeley, and she saw it in Ms. Magazine, right? And she saw it, and my niece, who was 7 or 8 at the time, she said, Mom, that's Earth Mother Goddess growing flowers, right? That's the way she saw it.
I'll tell you, Alma, I did not see it as, what's the controversy? I did not see it. I did not see it. What's the controversy?
Right. Yeah. But and the Archbishop, at that same time, said this was a prostitute, a tart,
I
a
remember that.
streetwalker,
Yes, I remember
right?
that.
So he and many others, obviously, where they went, was very sexual.
We want to keep her dressed. We want our religion to be left alone because it follows our Constitution, and it's been here so long. And we have these people coming in, and why does she need to be undressed?
She is taking something very sacred and trashed it. And we won't stand for it. This piece of junk needs to be removed from this museum, as well as Mr. Wilson and Miss Ice. As far as we're concerned, anyone who cannot use good judgment in displaying things of religious art that are sacred, they have no right being where they are.
How do you define good judgment?
Good judgment is not only politically correct and socially correct, but morally correct. This is good judgment, and their judgment is not morally correct.
Would you call good judgment if two people undressed right here in front of us and start copulating each other? There's a decision has to be made there, right? I'm putting it pretty bluntly, but you need to realize that when you ask those questions that, where do you draw the line?
I guess what the point that I'm trying to make is that this body here is not acting sexually. She's not doing anything. She is standing there looking, right? Really, the person who is sexual and sexualizing this image is the viewer. I mean, I was trying to say that our bodies are real, they're beautiful, and I was saying a lot of what you both are saying, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
That the Virgen de Guadalupe
I have no problem with that.
Is us.
I have no
right?
problem with that.
And that we are.
But I'm just saying is once you get but that there's a lot of contrariness that exists within our society regarding that. So you shouldn't be surprised when somebody says, what are you doing?
Well, to be honest with you, I was surprised, and you know why I was surprised? Because I didn't think this was that. I mean, I thought it was very much in the lines to the work that both of you did. That's so
It is indeed.
In the big urban centers, but it will not work in Nuevo Mexico and other places.
But it is within the line, I think, what Esther and I do. So welcome to the club. I think, and if, like Esther says, if we knew if we knew. If we knew the volatile stuff that we were working with, and were conscious of, constructing it, we would probably not do it. We would probably not do it. If you had known that this was going to cause you so much
although it gives you a lot of notoriety,
you probably would not have done it.
But I'm sure you reached a whole new audience too, especially with people who sort of were in line with you, your way of thinking and your values. I could read it, but. I'm sure it made you more well-known and respected in those circles.
Yeah, I actually would have done it.
You would have.
I would have done it.
I probably would have. We would have done it. She would have done it. I would have done it. We both would have done it. We both would have done it. But what I'm saying is we didn't anticipate the problem.
But I would have done it. But I think I would have thought about it, like what it really meant. Right, I would have been a little more strategic about thinking about it, what it means,
or how to put it out.
Make some kind of statement. I mean, the reason that I called on both of you and on everyone else, that I can think of, was because I needed advice. Like, how do I deal with this? What is it that I say? And so I remember you clearly saying, well, think about what statements you want to make.
I remember it. I remember talking with you.
I didn't think about that at that point, right? And so that really helped me because I thought, okay. So I remember writing a little statement when I went to Santa Fe to talk about and explain what this image was. But there was no space. It was so aggressive. There was just no space to be able to talk about.
And even if they read it,
Yeah. So So,
but I'm sure
it's
it
there.
reached some people
It's,
though.
but it's there, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's kind of what I see this too. It's like a chance to talk about.
Yeah.
Reach new audiences.
This is
I
what
know.
this is sort of like what I was talking about before, you know, like there is sort of a moral and ethical values behind what we do. That, you know, we love our people, you know, and we do it because we seek justice. I think we're all sort of justice, you know, want to see justice. And another way of since we're visual artists, that's how we make our statements through visual stuff, that we seek justice, and this is where justice needs to be attended to. You know, what I'm interested in, because you were going to show La Serena and Guadalupe, but is because a lot of people saw this immediately as a lesbian image, okay? They immediately. And I assume that there was some of that here going on as well too. I really do. But how did that bring you to these two?
That came after?
Yeah, that came after. She said, did this just come directly after?
No, it was around the same time. I think, you know, if anything, if somebody might be able to read this as a lesbian image.
I think it deals with gender. Maybe that would be better to say it, because it's not specifically.
But do you think it's more this idea of like loving women?
Yes.
Right? Like a love for women.
Yes.
Right? So that's not necessarily lesbian.
No.
Right? It's like loving ourselves as women and loving other women.
Yes.
Loving the women in our lives.
Yes.
Right?
And I think that's what I'm trying to think about, the values and the ethics of it. That's it. Yeah.
It's radical already.
Yeah. And for, you know,
a brown woman especially.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you accuse me of loving women, I stand accused.
Right.
I think, you know, I think you're right in terms of like this idea of love and activism, right? That
Yeah.
I think that probably.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, there is a connection there. Yeah.
Right. And for me, I like look back at the story, right? I'm always going back to the story because I am fascinated by the story of the apparition of the Virgen, right? And when she appeared, right, her message was of love, right?
Yes.
Her message was like, I love you, my son. Or, you know, I look like you. Who could love you more? You know? And so it was really more of this self-love also, right? It was like, it wasn't a European-looking Virgen. It was
Indian.
an indigenous
speaking in Nahuatl.
Right, and so she was telling this indigenous person, I understand you and I love you, and you can believe my love for you because I am you. I look like you, right? It's that whole idea of Inlakech, right? And so for me, it's like I think that message, that original message, was about love, loving ourselves, loving our community, loving who we are, right? It's not a message of hatred, right? And so that's what the message for me, like, that's the seed, right? And that's the seed, I think, of activism too.
Yeah.
Like when we think of activists, right? I mean, we act because we see an injustice or we see a wrong, and we love that community and we just think that is wrong, right? So we must act. But that acting is in love. Like when we look at this image right here, right? It's really love.
It is about
it's
love.
Like it's
Absolutely.
a loving image.
Absolutely.
It's
That's why I love it. Yeah.
It's an
Because it is
offering
about-
image.
But it's about sacred love and it's about profane love, you know, love for each other.
Yeah, and the images that you have, Yolanda, too, are about love, right? You love your grandma,
Family,
right? You love your mom,
Celebrating
and
work.
appreciate her,
And
her
work,
work.
yeah.
And you love and feel happy running, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like this love, right?
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely.
and like you said, like these images are happy and they exude this
Positive.
like positive love, right? Because that's what love does. It exudes.
Well, it's like Dolores Huerta told us, like back in the 70s. She said, we're invisible. It's up to you guys to make us visible. And I mean, creating images like this is like so powerful, especially for the mujeres. I hear it all the time. You know, it's just like, wow, that's us. So,
Yes, somebody once said to me that,
it's
like,
so beautiful. They're so honored and pleased and
But it's really
touched and educated. And
right. But that is because you also have like family and a connection to that, right?
Yes.
So you understand it, you have love, and therefore that drives that work, right?
But it's somebody the Chicana artist, the artist, we have given the movement its face.
Yes. Eyes, ears.
We have given it its face.
Heart.
Yeah.
Visible. Making that
Make
visible.
It, yeah, that's it. I thought
Maybe
that was
a couple of other things.
that. But I thought that was a wonderful statement.
Yeah,
You know, it rang true to me that we have given the movement its face.
Visible, made it visible.
Yeah.
Made it real.
And
Yeah.
comprehensible.